Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to For Coffee's Friday News Dump, a show in which we look at the news 10 minutes before we start, and then sleepily, we're drunkenly not sleeping enough. We tell you what's going on. Friday has a lot of big news stories happening. Some good, some bad, some questionable. So let's go ahead and get into our headlines. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Today on Before Coffee, Orbán's visit to Moscow sparks dismay in Brussels.
And Brazil arrests its former president.
Rishi Sunak resigns as Tory leader, as well as PM after election defeat.
And for the hot 4th of July, we have hungry hot dog eaters and hungry sharks.
Theresa May made the whole country rally against migrants. UK rapper Berwyn on poverty, perseverance, and hostile politics.
And those stories and more, which is National Workaholics Day. Now get back to work. What are you doing watching this show? July 5th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
All right. Well, you workaholics, let's go ahead and see what's going on in Brussels. As we mentioned, I think last week or the week before, the presidency of the European Council is rotated between all member states' current leaders. So, seeing as, for example, Orbán is the leader of Hungary, he is in the European Council, and it's his turn to be president of the European Council. However, he's already doing things not exactly without permission, but without even telling anybody. Hungarian officials, this is on Euronews by Joanna Murray. Hungarian officials told Euronews the government's policy in Ukraine is that both parties need to negotiate an end to the conflict and that there was no military solution. Only days into taking over the rotating presidency of the European Council, and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has drawn the ire of Brussels for his unscheduled visit to Vladimir Putin in Moscow. It follows as a surprise meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on Monday, which was July 1st, where two were said to have had a relatively cordial meeting concerning Orbán's flat refusal to provide political or military support for war-torn Ukraine. As soon as the reports of Moscow trip emerged, President of the European Council Charles Michel hit out at Orbán, reminding him he has no mandate to negotiate on behalf of the EU during his tenure. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk tweeted, "The rumors about your visit to Moscow cannot be true, PM Orbán. Or can they?" His Finnish counterpart, Petteri Orpo, described the news of this visit as disturbing, saying Orbán's visit shows disregard for the duties of the presidency and undermines the interests of the European Union. Josep Borrell, the EU's top diplomat, stressed in a statement issued on Friday that the visit takes place exclusively in the framework of a bilateral relationship between Hungary and Russia. Like Michel, he highlighted that holding the presidency of the Council of EU does not entail any external representation, adding that Orbán has not received any mandate to visit Moscow and that the bloc's official position excludes official contact between the EU and President Putin. The Hungarian Prime Minister is thus not representing the EU in any form, Borrell wrote, recalling also that Putin has been indicted by the International Criminal Court and an arrest warrant released for his role in relation to forced deportation of children from Ukraine to Russia. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, meanwhile, stressed that European Council is represented in foreign policy by Charles Michel. The EU's position is very clear. We condemn the Russian war of aggression. Ukraine can count on our support. Gitanas Nausėda, Lithuania's president, also condemned the trip, writing on Twitter that if you truly seek peace, you don't shake hands with a bloody dictator. You put all your efforts to support Ukraine. My first trip, and this is on Twitter as well. Let me see if I can actually read it. From Viktor Orbán, he posted, "My first trip after assuming the presidency of Council of the EU led me to Kyiv for a meeting with President Zelensky. I assessed the possibility of a deadline-bound ceasefire that could provide opportunity to speed up peace negotiations. I will report my findings to the Council immediately." So this is why everyone in Brussels is on the defense, because he's very much, his PR machine is putting on, I am the presence of the Council of the EU, right? That's my title. So him going to Russia, carrying that title unofficially on an unofficial visit is what everyone in Brussels is worried about. He is not reflecting the EU's ideas, which, I mean, I saw this coming. He hasn't been reflecting the EU's ideas the whole time he's been in power. So the trip also overshadows Hungary's attempt to publicize the government's priorities over the next 6 months, including a more hardline implementation of migration policies, development of the European defense strategy, and supporting a smooth transition to a new College of Commissioners following the European Parliament's elections. Meanwhile, Hungarian officials have told Euronews the government's policy in Ukraine is that both parties need to negotiate an end to conflict and that there is no military solution. However, one official conceded that, against our best intentions towards the war, it will last a while. We condemn the aggression. We feel very strongly for Ukraine, they said, but the two sides need to resolve the matter. It's so dumb that some dude invades a country and it's like, you guys need to figure this out. It's like, what do you mean? He invaded illegally into a country with bullshit reasons. That's the end of it. He needs to leave. You need to leave, as the meme goes. Officials have doubled down on Hungary's refusal to provide any lethal military equipment to Kyiv. Despite the heavy civilian casualties and brutal Russian occupation, we do not deliver lethal equipment. Our job in government is to provide the security of Hungary and no other country. Our role in this is to protect the sovereignty of our own country, and that is what we're responsible for, they said. Except for when you're currently the president of the European Council. Okay, right. But that's your big drama coming out of Brussels. Of course, Viktor Orbán stirring up some trouble.
Maybe Orbán. He wants to be a dictator.
He wants to be like Putin. Putin's his hero.
Yeah. Maybe Orbán ought to start drafting people from Turkey and sending them over to fight in that war like North Korea is going to do. Which North Koreans just all of a sudden start fighting. Well, I'm sure they are, right? They got no wars. They do all this military training. Now they get a war to fight it. Hey, let's go die in some foreign country. Yay! For nothing. We don't know what we're fighting for. More totalitarianism. Yay, totalitarianism. We're tired of rights. We're tired of that. All right, sorry. Did I tell your story?
That's the end.
Okay.
You can go.
Okay, so for one other current leader with questionable Democratic credentials, who one has zero Democratic credentials anymore. The Brazilian ex-president Bolsonaro is arrested, indicted in undeclared diamonds case, sources say. This is from AP News. Mauricio Savarese and Gabriela Pessoa. Hopefully, no more complications with pronunciations. And so, Brazil's federal police have indicted former President Jair Bolsonaro for money laundering and criminal association in connection with undeclared diamonds the far-right leader received from Saudi Arabia during his time in office, according to the source with knowledge of the accusations. A second source confirmed the indictment, although not for which specific crimes. Both officials spoke on condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. Brazil's Supreme Court has yet to receive the police report with the indictment. Once it does, the country's Prosecutor General Paulo Gonet will analyze the document and decide whether to file charges but force Bolsonaro to stand trial. This is Bolsonaro's second indictment since leaving office, following another in May for allegedly falsifying his COVID-19 vaccination certificate. Geez, what a guy. But this indictment dramatically raises the legal threats facing the divisive ex-leader that are applauded by his opponents, but denounced as political persecution by his supporters. Bolsonaro did not immediately comment, but he and his lawyers have previously denied any wrongdoing in both cases, as well as other investigations into the former president. One is probing his possible involvement in inciting an uprising in capital Brasilia on January 8th, 2023, that sought to oust his successor from power. Same thing Trump tried. But in Brazil, they actually arrested people that same day. They didn't wait months for their friends to turn them in. Still shaking my head over the incompetence of law enforcement in this country. Last year, federal police accused Bolsonaro of attempting to sneak in diamond jewelry, reportedly worth $3 million in selling to luxury watches. Police said in August that Bolsonaro received cash from a nearly $70,000 sale of 2 luxury watches he received as gifts from Saudi Arabia. Brazil requires its citizens arriving by plane from abroad to declare goods worth more than $1,000 and, for any amount above that exemption, pay a tax equal to 50% of their value. The jewelry would have been exempt from tax had it been a gift from Saudi Arabia to Brazil, but not to Bolsonaro to keep for himself. Rather, it would have been added to the presidential collection. The investigation showed that Mauro Cid, Bolsonaro's former aide-de-camp who allegedly falsified his COVID-19 records in June 2022, sold a Rolex watch and a Patek Philippe watch to a store in the U.S. for a total of $68,000. They were gifts by Saudi Arabia's government in 2019. Cid later signed a plea bargain with authorities and confirmed it all. Flavio Bolsonaro, the former president's eldest son and sitting senator, said on X on Thursday's indictment that persecution against his father was blatant and shameless. Boy, he sounds just like defendant J. Trump Jr. In addition to Bolsonaro, police indicted 10 others, including Cid and 2 of his lawyers, Frederick Wassef and Fabio Weingarten. According to one of the sources, Wassef said in a statement that he didn't have access to the final report of the investigation and decried selective leaks to the press of an investigation that is supposed to be proceeding under seal. I'm going through all this solely for practicing law in defense of Jair Bolsonaro, he wrote. On social media, Weingarten said police have found no evidence implicating him. The federal police knows I did nothing related to what they are investigating, but they still want to punish me because I provide unwavering and permanent defense for former President Bolsonaro. Permanent, huh? What, are you attached to his, like a barnacle or something? Attached to his ass like a barnacle. I'm permanent. Bolsonaro retains staunch allegiance among his political base, as, cult leaders do. When an estimated 185,000 people clogged Sao Paulo's main boulevard to protest what the former president calls political persecution. That was in February, by the way. His critics, particularly members of his rival president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's political party, the guy with the 5-name thing, he just wants to have 5 names. That's what he is. Well, it's 4.
That's their cultural practice. It's their cultural practice.
I know, why don't we just call him like Louis? Louis da Silva, how's that? All right. Well, I thought I was done reading his name, but I wasn't quite done. I have cheered every advance of investigations repeatedly called for his arrest. Psychologist Deborah Santos watched news of Bolsonaro's indictment in a bakery in Sao Paulo's upmarket Villa Mandalina neighborhood. This is great because it breaks a pattern. Bolsonaro supporters love to say how honest he is. Everyone else is dishonest but them. Boy, that sounds familiar. There you have it. The police think he steals diamonds. That should end any politician's career. She's funny. And the 69-year-old former army captain started his political career as a staunch advocate of Brazilian military dictatorship and was a lawmaker for nearly 3 decades. When he bid for the presidency for the first time in 2018, he was widely dismissed as an outsider and too radically conservative, but he surprised analysts with a decisive victory. It's no small part due to his self-portrayal as an upstanding citizen in the years following a sprawling corruption probe that has startled hundreds of politicians and executives. Well, it turns out he's just as dishonest as they are. Bolsonaro insulted adversaries since his earliest days in office, while garnering critics with his divisive policies, attacks on the Supreme Court, and efforts to undermine health restrictions during the pandemic. He lost a re-election bid in the closest finish since Brazil's return to democracy In 1985, Carlos Melo, a political science professor at the INSPER University at Sao Paulo, believes Brazil's Supreme Court injustice overseeing several investigations targeting Bolsonaro. Alexander de Moraes will not risk sending the former president to prison or imposing other harsh measures with any haste. The objective, he said, is to avoid instigating supporters of the far-right leader and so make cases against him more politically sensitive to prosecute. This is the year of mayoral elections. Mayores and his fellow justices know that prosecuting a former president who remains a popular man would have been even tougher in a year like this. Melo said this indictment is another piece of the puzzle. It gives one more problem to Bolsonaro. There will be more. Last year's Brazil's top electoral court ruled that Bolsonaro abused his presidential powers during the 22 election bid, which rendered him ineligible for any elections until the year 30. The case focused on meeting during which Bolsonaro urged government staffers, the state television channel, and the presidential palace in Brasilia to tell foreign ambassadors that the country's electronic voting system was rigged. Bolsonaro is expected to meet Argentina President Javier Milei this weekend at a conservative conference in Balneário Camboriú in Brazil's south. They're going to discuss more fascism as, of course, Argentina's got the highest inflation in the world, and the guy down there fixed the problem. No, he didn't fix the problem. He made it he made their money worth even less. That's what he did. He devalued their money. So Argentina and Brazil, Bolsonaro probably planning some kind of coup or some kind of revolution or something with that guy. We'll see. Anyway, back to you.
Wow. Well, it's nice when the people take the power back, you know? We say it all the time, right? Oh, you have the power, not the politicians, but a lot of us don't actually take the chance to do it, right? To actually be like, wait,
yeah,
we do outnumber those fuckers. So
we have a great democracy if we choose to keep it.
Yep. Well,
we have the choice to keep the
democracies. We've got the election results from the UK in their snap election, with Rishi Sunak apologizing to the country after his catastrophic election loss and said he had heard voters' anger and disappointment and a desire for change. This is from Alina Correa on The Guardian. Speaking outside 10 Downing Street after a disastrous night for the Conservative Party, Sunak confirmed his resignation as Prime Minister and said, "To the country, I would like to say first and foremost, I am sorry. I have given this job my all, but you have sent a clear signal that the government of the United Kingdom must change, and yours is the only judgment that matters. I have heard your anger and your disappointment, and I take responsibility for this loss." Well, I think 14 years of Conservative government should take responsibility for the loss. It wasn't all you, Rishi. There was a few people in there, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Cameron selling out completely leaving the EU, selling out his country to be like, let's just leave the EU. That will be a good idea. There's a lot of things the Conservative government did that were led to this result, I think. He also said he would step down as Conservative leader once the arrangements for selecting his successor were in place. The party appears likely to win over 121 seats, its worst result in history. Not in 10 years or 20 years, ever. In the history of voting for seats in Parliament. Sunak also congratulated Keir Starmer on Labour's resounding victory, saying, "In this job, his successes will be all our successes, and I wish him and his family well. Whatever our disagreements in the campaign, he is a decent, public-spirited man who I respect. He and his family deserve the very best of our understanding as they make the huge transition to their new lives behind this door." By 11 a.m., when all but 2 constituencies had declared the results, Labour had won a huge landslide with more than, get ready for this, 410 seats. That's not even half. That's not even a quarter. That's just all of them.
Wow.
It's crazy. Sunak said the Tories now needed to rebuild and take their crucial roles in opposition. He also apologized to the party's candidates and campaigners. "I'm sorry that we could not deliver what your efforts deserved. It pains me to think that how many good colleagues who contributed too much to their communities and our country will no longer sit in the House of Commons." He then traveled to Buckingham Palace for his final audience with the king before Starmer formally becomes Prime Minister. Speaking about his legacy, Sunak said he had brought down inflation to the Bank of England target of 2%, put mortgage rates on downward trajectory, and enhanced the UK's international standing. He cited his support for Ukraine and the negotiations of the Windsor Framework on the post-Brexit trading agreements in Northern Ireland. Yeah, like, I'm going to be fair with Sunak here. People want to blame him for everything because he's the last guy who was here, right? But it's the same in America. Oh, Biden did this. Well, actually, Trump is the one who elected all those things. But it's happening under Biden's administration because the government doesn't stop because you change leaders. The same thing happens with Sunak. All the things he's had to deal with are because of the previous leaders of the Conservative Party. I think the Rwanda scheme was an idiotic idea. I'm going to give him, like, why a brown person who probably grew up being treated like a lesser person because he's an Indian decided that he hates immigrants or wanted to support this idea of hating immigrants. I don't understand. Maybe that was internal party pressure and not his own personal thing he wanted to do. But if you're the leader of the Conservative Party, I think you should do what you want and not pressure down to whatever the Conservative Party wants. But that aside,
I do like how the United States seems to lag behind the British.
Yeah. Well,
the United States lags behind the British slightly, so liberals are going to win this election.
The United States lags behind Europe, right? The joke for probably decades, the joke for decades has been a conservative in Europe is more progressive than a Democrat, right? That has been the joke about the U.S. for decades. So they've always been lagging behind when it comes to progressive ideas and leftist thinking and all that liberal government kind of stuff.
Well,
socialism.
Their Conservative Party has been reduced to sloganeering with no real policies. That's kind of what the Conservative Party is in the United States. Sloganeering with no real policies.
Well, of course, the biggest slogan people in the UK is, of course, the Reformist Party, which did win seats. I don't know if they're going to say that here, but
yeah.
I am proud of those achievements. I believe this country is safer, stronger, and more secure than it was 20 months ago, he said. It is more prosperous, fair, and resilient than it was in 2010. Referencing his historic status as the UK's first British Asian Prime Minister, Sunak said, "One of the most remarkable things about Britain is just how unremarkable it is that 2 generations after my grandparents came here with little, I could become Prime Minister, and that I could watch my 2 young daughters light Diwali candles on the steps in Downing Street. We must hold true to the idea of who we are, that visions of kindness, decency, and tolerance that has always been the British way." He thanked his family for their support and sacrifices. After concluding his speech, walked into a waiting car on Downing Street hand in hand with his wife, Akshata Murthy. Sunak became the Tory leader in October 2022, so he's only had less than 2 years to basically do something. After the implosion of Liz Truss's 45 stint in Downing Street, he has pledged to stay on as an MP for the full term of his current parliament. He said, "This is a difficult day at the end of a number of difficult days. But I leave this job honored to have been your Prime Minister. This is the best country in the world, and it is thanks to you entirely, to the British people. The true source of all of our achievements, our strengths, and our greatness." The Conservatives are now set for a bruising leadership contest with senior figures who survived election night, including Kemi Badenoch, Tom Tugendhat, and Robert Jenrick, vying to take over as leader of the Conservative Party. Several other likely contenders, including Grant Shapps, Penny Mordaunt, were among the 12 cabinet ministers to lose their seats, a record-breaking number. According to analysis by the Institute for Government, a further 24 junior ministers and 7 Tory whips were ousted from their constituencies. The outgoing Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, is likely to play a role in rebuilding the party after he unexpectedly saw off a major challenge from Liberal Democrats in his Godalming and Ash seat. He clung on by 891 votes. The Tory chair, Richard Holden, survived by only 20 votes in Basildon and Billickay, and Essex seat his party won with 20,412 majority in 2019. Oh. Wow, that's a huge majority. In 2019 he had a 20,000 majority, and this time he only won with 20 votes. He was almost kicked out of his chair. If those 20 people didn't vote for him, he would not be there right now. I do also want to add big awesome news for Wales. who is 100% Tory free. That's right. Almost every single constituency in Wales is Labour, except for I think 2 Lib Dem positions. So good job, Wales. They need Labour, or originally Labour was their thing. 1 Lib Dem seat and 2 Plaid Cymru, which is the Welsh Nationalist Party. For Wales independence, there's still some people out there who are like, let's leave the UK. So that's your news. I don't know if there's I want to see an actual map of the news, but I can't see like an actual map of, because I hear on like social media, I was scrolling through social media about this while I was during your story, and I did see that there are a couple of regions in the UK that went to the Reform Party, which is the Brexit, anti-European Union, just, far-right party. And according to people on social media anyways, this is probably due to the fact that those constituencies... The
isolationists.
There are constituencies on the coast who have been basically ignored and forgotten by the UK government for decades. So, of course... it's very easy.
How did Scotland vote?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Scotland didn't get rid of all their Tories. I'm trying to, why isn't there just, on The Guardian, an actual... Oh, here we go. Live tracker. Oh, here we go. Okay. So, according to Scotland, Scotland is mostly Labour, but the Northern Highlands have a lot of SNP, of course, because... Scottish National Party, there you go. So the people who are in the lowlands who are closer to England voted all Labour, and then the people who are farther away, closer to the heartland of Scotland, voted SSP. There are 2 Tory constituencies, which would be Gordon and Buchan, which holds and West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine. So those are the northeast coast towns or constituencies. They're very big, but I'm sure not a lot of people live there.
Yeah, they're just sparsely populated, like Montana and Wyoming.
They're huge, on the map they're huge, but there's probably not a lot of actually people living there. That's probably where
it's just mountains. It's just highlands, right? Yeah. You can't. It's so mountainous. You can't build a lot there.
The total votes are around 30,000 people. And that's 67% of the vote. So there's probably 90,000 people living there ish.
You probably don't have all the votes in yet either, but
no, they do. This is definitely it's.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, all the votes have officially been in by now, I think. And also there is a Lib Dem SNP or a Lib Dem constituency.
Oh, and I sent you a video.
I already sent you a video.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I did. John Oliver did a whole skit about voting in the UK, so I thought it was fitting for this huge landmark win for Labour.
Do I get the link?
Yeah, I sent it to you on Facebook, I think. There's still a lot of, of course, because England is bigger and has way more constituencies, there's still a lot of conservative votes there.
Yeah.
And I don't know who PC is, but PC is a party. I'm not sure who got Reform. Is everyone on the East Coast? 3 constituencies on the East Coast in England got voted for, which according to social media are famously racist and homophobes and all the bad things. So according to the people who live there, right? Oh yeah, I know that constituency. Everyone there's fucking racist. So
I don't have
unfortunately, that's what happens when you're isolated and closed off. You don't really feel you're ignored by your own government, right? You don't really feel like part of the country, so you end up, voting for somebody who listens to you, which happens to be the Reform Party. But there's let me show you the map real quick if I can.
Well, could you send me that link I didn't get when you get a chance?
I sent you the link on Facebook.
Not on Facebook. Not on Messengers, no.
Well, I can't send it to you again if you're not receiving the first one. That means you're not going to receive the second one.
What?
See if I can share this. Oh, that's not it.
Are you sure you sent it to me, not somebody else?
It says Roger Stewart, streamable.com. I sent it to you.
What's streamable.com?
It's what I used to clip it because I'm not sending you the whole 24-minute episode of the... Here. Okay, here we go. I got it.
It's probably too big to send on Facebook then.
Here is the picture of the map. A little zoomed in.
All right.
But we've got... This is the colorful map. It's crazy how colorful a map can look when you have multiple parties. Just saying. Cough, cough, America.
Mm-hmm.
And, all right. So now we can go to your story.
Okay, well, from people hungry for democracy to hungry sharks and hungry people are just plain hungry. This is first stories from NBC News. Phil Helsel, 4 injured in 4th of July shark attacks in Texas and Florida. A shark bit 3 people off a southern Texas beach in what the city's fire chief called an unprecedented incident on the 4th of July. The same day, another person was bitten by a shark in Florida. Maybe not the same shark, though. In Texas, 3 people were bitten in the city of South Padre Island on a barrier island near Brownsville, and the shark was later located and pushed out to deeper seawater. Fire Chief Jim Pigg said, yes, his name is Jim Pig. At least he's not a cop. Yeah. Anyway, it's unprecedented here on South Padre Island, he said. There were 2 shark bite incidents at 3 different times and locations Thursday. Police responded to a 911 call that reported a severe shark bite to the leg at 11 a.m., city's spokesperson Nikki Soto said, and the victim was taken to the local hospital. Pig said the first call involved 1 person with a bite injury and a second person with minor injuries who did not need further emergency care. Okay. After a second 911 call about a shark attack, firefighters found 2 people had been bitten by a shark, Pig said. They were also taken to the hospital. Kyle Judd, 46, said he saw a woman pulled from the water who appeared to have a big bite onto a leg. Beach Patrol lifted her up. Her calf was just gone, shredded, horrific. Judd said he posted a video of a shark in the water as a helicopter and a boat patrolled. One of the victims was flown out of a Brownsville hospital for further treatment, the Texas Park and Wildlife Department said. Shark encounters of this nature are not an uncommon occurrence in Texas. Not an uncommon occurrence in Texas. I mean, they are a common occurrence. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're that common. When bites from sharks do occur, they're usually a case of mistaken identity by sharks looking for food. That's not a mistake. Humans can be food too. I don't know why we think we can't be food. No, they're not making a mistake. They're trying to eat you. It's not a mistake, believe me. I don't know how they think the sharks are, oh no, that's a human. I can't eat that. Foolish humans. Pig said that it has not been determined what type of shark was involved in that an investigation was underway. Lifeguards were encouraging people in South Padre Island, a beach town of 2,000 on the barrier island of the same name, to stay out of the water or at least go no further than knee deep. Well, yeah, it can only eat your calves then, like this lady. After the shark was spotted and pushed out the water there have been no further sightings, but Pig said officials would stay vigilant. South Padre Island Mayor Patrick McNulty say, our hearts and prayers are with the injured and the families. We hope for speedy recovery. In New Smyrna Beach, Florida, a 21-year-old man was bitten by a shark while he was playing football in knee-deep water on 4 p.m., said Tamara Malfers, an interim director at Volusia County Beach Safety. The man who was visiting the city on the Atlantic coast from Ohio was taken to the hospital. His injuries were not believed to be life-threatening, Malfers said. There were 36 unprovoked shark attacks against humans in the U.S. last year, and 2 of those people died. The Florida Museum of Natural History's International Shark Attack File said in its most recent annual report, the project, which documents shark attacks around the world, says that risk of being attacked by a shark is relatively very small, but the swimmers can minimize the risk even further by staying in groups and closer to shore. Of course, there was a a surfer killed by a shark in Hawaii last month. And we didn't cover that story, but it did happen. Mm-hmm. And hungry human news. This is from CBS News. They had the hot dog eating out at Coney Island again this year, July 4th. And this is from Jesse Zanger from CBS News. Patrick Bertoletti wins Nathan's hot dog eating contest in 2024 with 58 as Mickey Sudo sets new women's division record with 51. Wow. That's a lot of hot dogs. It is the dawn of a new era in Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest. Patrick Bertoletti of Chicago won the men's division with 58 hot dogs and buns. He had to eat buns for some reason. I am the greatest. I am in the greatest country in the world, the greatest eating contest in the world, and it's perfection, Bertoletti said. For the first time in years, the men's competition was wide open with Joey Chestnut not competing, and Kobayashi retired a few years ago. The competition was tight from the start in Chestnut's absence. Bertoletti, the number 9 ranked eater in the world, according to Major League Eating, jumped out to an early lead, followed closely by Jeffrey Esper of Oxford, Massachusetts, Nick Wary of Tampa, Florida. In the middle of the contest, James Webb of Australia briefly took the lead. Bertoletti came rallying back and held on to the lead till the end. Esper came in second with 53. Webb came in third with 52. Chestnut, the 16-time champion, did not appear this year because of his partnership with a rival company that makes plant-based hot dogs. He appeared instead this year at Fort Bliss, Texas, where we used to live, where he was set to compete against 4 service members. Chestnut holds the all-time record, which he set in 2021 by eating 76 hot dogs and buns. Man, those buns bear a lot of air in them. That's all I got to say. Mickey Sudo sets the new world record in the women's division. Mickey Sudo set a new record at the 24 hot dog eating contest with 51 hot dogs and buns. Sudo, 38, has won every year since 2014, except 21. She set that year out due to pregnancy. I wonder how many hot dogs she got. I wonder what she got a hankering for when she was pregnant. I'll have 7 million hot dogs. Her personal best has previously been 48.5 hot dogs and buns, which she shattered this year with 51. I can see why she wouldn't eat when she was pregnant. She would eat 51 hot dogs and then puke them all out on the table. That would have been. Pregnant women puke a lot, in case anybody doesn't know it. Anyway, I think what this means for women's contests is that, first of all, our personal bests are just going to keep going up. The record's going to keep increasing. After 10 years, I have still more to give. I have more to give to the hot dog eating world. And you're not done with me just yet, she said. Sudo successfully defended her title for the 10th time as Major League Eating's top-ranked female eater in the world. Sudo fended off a stiff challenge from Mayo Ibihara of Japan, who ate 37. 37, that's all you can do? 37, come on, man. Get within 5 or 6. Come on. Sudo thanked Ebihara for pushing me so much. Sudo said she was getting emotional and really wanted to win. Sudo is married to a fellow competitor, Nicholas Wary. With 51, she has now bested his total, which is 48. Man, that must be fun in a date, huh? Michelle Lesko came in third in the women's division with 23 hot dogs and buns. Wow, that's really way below the second. It's like, wow, those contests are not even close. Thousands of spectators attended this annual spectacle of Nathan's famous flagship restaurant at Surf and Stillwell Avenues. The show also included a dance and music performances. The July 4th tradition dates back to 1916. In addition to winning the coveted mustard yellow belt, there's a $20,000 cash prize, plus all the hot dogs you can eat. At Thursday's event, Eric Badlands Booker set a new record in Nathan's lemonade chugging competition, consuming a gallon in 21 seconds. Ooh. And as per tradition, let's try it one more time. And as per tradition, Nathan's Famous is donating 100,000 hot dogs to the food bank for New York City. And there's your story. We have a new king of hot dogs, and the queen is still the queen. Back to you.
Good to know that some things are, all the things that are happening
Stable.
this week are important things are happening, like queen of hot dogs.
We can always count on Nathan's hot dogs to bring us some cheer and, levity.
All right. For our culture segment, we're going to look at an interview by Josin Okunde of the UK rapper Berwyn, who sat down to create his 2021 mixtape, demo tape / Vega. He was at a NADR. He was living in a shithole of an apartment in Romford, Essex, with some brother Alfred and a very depressed, lonely old man. With little funds, no equipment, Berwyn went halves on a computer with a friend and put his heart and soul into making the tape in 2 weeks using a pair of broken headphones. Since he didn't have his immigration papers, after moving to the UK age 9, Berwyn realized he couldn't register to receive royalties. So he decided to spend one last Christmas with his family and his girlfriend. Sorry. Yeah, bless me. Spent one last Christmas with his family and girlfriend and then returned to Trinidad. Luckily, fate intervened when a musician's friend manager heard his music and wanted to represent him, providing he could stay in the UK for a while. And from there, everything began to change. Demo tape / Vega went on to be nominated for the Mercury Prize, and Berwyn's debut album Proper, Who Am I?, a gorgeous collection of ruminative R&B and rap, is being released by a major label next week. Jason met Berwyn in a studio in Belsize Park, a well-heeled part of North London. Dripped out in a green and yellow Wales Bonner tracksuit, the 28-year-old looks as though he has put the troubles of his earlier years behind him. Yet his album reveals that he still has a strong grip. Who Am I? Is a searching, unflinching yet hopeful self-portrait which tracks the addiction and mental turmoil that was triggered from his experience as a black immigrant. Born Berwyn Dubois in Diego Martin, Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago's capital, the musician grew up hearing steel pan and soca music from local Creole population, while its Indo-Caribbean communities played chutney and bhangra. It's the ghetto. There's a lot of alcohol consumption, very little going to work, so music was the backdrop of life, Berwyn said. He remembers evenings on the porch of his house where he would watch the sunset while sitting on his father's lap, listening to Motown and soul records. Now when I try to write songs with Johnny, Coffer producer, we come up with these old Otis Redding lines, these melodies, rhythms, chords, they're just sinking into my biology. Migrating to England and suddenly in Romford was like leaving Mars and entering Pluto. Nothing from yesterday was the same as tomorrow. He described a town of strict, racially based regimes and rules that were some streets you couldn't go down after 10 o'clock because the Skinners would chase you off. He fought daily with Irish boys who said he singled them out because of his blackness. In schools, he felt like a museum exhibit. He's quick to note that a lot of it was the innocent curiosity of children, but he remembers that his first week, the most popular child in school kept repeating a racial slur out loud while the class was reading. Berwyn would laugh along with his classmate, not realizing what the slur meant. It's only in hindsight I look back and I'm like, oh, they were mugging man off. Berwyn knew that he was an illegal immigrant. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. Sorry. I have to repeat that every time somebody says it. Nobody's fucking illegal. Fuck you. But I had the little understanding of other than don't tell a fucking soul or it'll end very badly. And when he reached his mid-teens, his immigration status started to have an impact. But picking GCSEs and thinking about the next 5 years, and there wasn't an exam I sat in and didn't look around and think, what is the point? He picked music GCSE because he wanted time to fuck around, but ended up falling in love with it. After the first music teacher was fired for showing the class the human centipede. Hello? Wait, what? Sorry, what? What does that have to do with music? The human centipede doesn't have any music in it. Does it? Okay. That's just came out of left field. My music teacher got fired because he had us watch Human Centipede in school. Yeah, I know, I agree. their replacement saw that I could sing, that I had a natural music ability. She tried her best to maintain that. She would stay with Berwyn late after school so he could work on the production software Logic, and on Wednesdays evenings took him to the folk club. She had an inkling of what my home life was like, so she did her best to try to keep me away from that as much as possible. The home background was the drug trade. I used to come home and everything was being weighed out and bagged up. Perhaps inevitably he started dealing drugs himself, although he wanted to go to university to study psychology. I was the first boy in my family to not go to jail before 16, so I wanted to change the narrative a bit. He stopped attending classes, assuming his university dream was pointless given his immigration status. Don't let that stop you, man. See, this is the problem. This is why I constantly say nobody is illegal, right? Because look at this guy. He had this word illegal said on to him since he was a child, so he thought he didn't deserve anything. He doesn't deserve the world. He doesn't deserve anything because he's illegal, you know? That's why we should not use this word as a descriptor for people.
Mm-hmm.
He could be a psychologist right now. Not saying him being a rapper is lesser or anything, but I'm just saying he could have been a psychologist, but he's illegal, so why try? He doesn't deserve it because he's illegal. But he would still sit in the library and copy down psychology books amid deals. Whenever I get the call, I'll stop, lick my shot, come back, and continue writing. Berwyn said the struggles to remember the period between college and the creation of his mixtape is a fucking blur now. I'm chopping up with my therapist to try to get a timeline of events. Came close to canning his creative aspirations in order to work as a laborer. He had stints as a carpenter and electrician, and he had to break down and recovered from alcoholism twice, all while living under the burden of his status as an illegal immigrant. Suffering he sings about on the album track, I'm Drowning. They took my purpose, bro, he said. They turned me into an animal in the field. I couldn't even go and see a doctor if my belly was griping. I had to pull my rotten teeth out with my own hands. I wake up every morning, meet the sun, realize there's no point leaving the bed. Drink a Russian beer, go back to sleep, and that was simply just from them. Who is them? Crazy, innit? I don't know. Table full of dickheads in my mind who probably... I went southern all of a sudden. A table of dickheads in my mind probably didn't exist in the real world. It's a word, bro. I'm so passionately angry at a word. That's true. It's just one word, but it can change your entire life. The hostile environment for migrants is the source of Berwyn's most righteous fury. I'm sitting down, watching the news, accepting the idea that I'm an enemy to the state. I've accepted that narrative from being a young child. He singles out Theresa May in particular. I've never seen leadership fail a group of people so effortlessly. He likens the demonizing of migrants to the way Margaret Thatcher made the country rally around her during the Falklands War. May made us the Falklands. She made the whole country rally against us, and I felt that. It was inescapable. Berwyn Mercury's Pride nomination was a watershed moment, especially after all the previous opportunities he was forced to miss. He recalled the time his performing arts teacher sent him to audition for a part as young Simba in The Lion King. I read up on the requirements for the part, and I needed my papers, so I had to lie to her and tell her I missed the train. He didn't audition for Brit School for the same reason. His teachers thought he was throwing away his chances and never forgave me for that shit. Since 2021, Berwyn has the right to remain in Britain, but in September 2023, while performing at the Ziggo Dome in Amsterdam with a collaborator, Fred again, he was informed that he had to get through the UK border by 11 p.m. or he would not be permitted to re-enter the country. That was just the other day, and to be honest, it really fucked up my mental health because I'm really trying my hardest. See, this is what I'm saying. There's people out there who want to do stuff, who want to live in your country, who want to pay taxes, who want to just be there.
Yep.
And you make them into some sort of
Most
threatening
patriotic
person. Like, oh God, I can't do anything because if I try to do anything positive for the world, I'll be punished for it. As for his right to remain application, Berwyn had to write a letter. Very politically friendly and lacking so much honesty. After the situation in the Ziggo Dome, he decided he would write a real thing on the track Dear Immigration, on which he recites, while you send me letters trying to threaten me about arresting me, you give me a stomachache, you make me feel like a fugitive and a runaway. I mean, as an immigrant, I can relate to this. I'm feeling that, oh, somebody's gonna know that I'm not from here and they're gonna treat me differently. The kind of confrontation and vulnerability has made Berwyn one of the most affecting artists to come out of the UK in recent years. His resilience is striking. but so is his tenderness, and the album feels optimistic. On Neighbors, produced by Fred again, he sings about how love and devotion has carried him through the very darkest of times. The album is about reflection. I'm with a partner right now that I'm really in love with that gives me a sense of comfort throughout all my hardship. Berwyn is proud of his album, and he's happy he can share his music more easily than he once could. I'm always the first to critique myself, and this time I can say I'm outlandishly brilliant. So I guess if you want to listen to some UK rap, or just listen to his story on his album, check out his album. And there you go. What it's like to be a legal immigrant, where you just feel like you aren't allowed to you're not allowed to do anything because you're illegal.
Immigrants are always like the best. They're always like the best citizens, and because they want to be there.
They're trying their hardest.
They want they want your city to succeed. They want your school to work.
Yeah, you don't need to do shit.
They would love to participate in. They would love to participate in your democracy. They would love it because they come from some place that doesn't give them anything.
Vote the most are immigrants.
Right. Yep. And they're going to know more about your country's history than your children, because nowadays they just go, history,
yeah.
Who cares? USA all the way. Go salute the flag. That's our history lesson. That's what schools are turned into now, at least in some states. All right, this day in history. Bad segues out of the way. This day in 1810, P.T. Barnum was born. P.T. Barnum, who with James A. Bailey made the circus a popular and gigantic spectacle in the United States. And P.T. Barnum famously said, what's his famous quote? There's a sucker born every minute. And that's been proven time and again. Probably more than a sucker per minute. It's probably 5,000 suckers per minute. Think about it. In 1859, Captain N.C. Brooks discovered the Midway Islands in the Central Pacific Ocean and claimed the territory of the United States, and the people living there were saying, finally somebody discovered us! Anyway.
Nobody knew we were here until these fuckers showed up.
Thank you, Captain N.C. Brooks. Now we're part of the United States. What the hell is that? 1865, the U.S. Secret Service began operation under the Treasury Department to aid in the prevention of counterfeiting. The Secret Service, was created 3 months after Lincoln was assassinated. Little too late. 1946, the first bikini, designed by French engineer Louis Réard, made its debut in Paris. The swimsuit was named for the Bikini Atoll, which just days earlier had been the site of the world's first peacetime atomic weapons test. And thank you for the radiation, everybody. It's got it here right close to, it's in me somewhere. I'm sure it'll peek out as cancer at some point. I'll be, oh my God, what's that growth? Yep. Thank you, nuclear age. 1954, American singer Elvis Presley recorded That's All Right, which became his first hit and helped give rise to rock and roll music. Well, Elvis recorded a song in 1954. Whether it helped give rise to rock and roll music, we have no information. I mean, it wasn't like a top, didn't just bolt right to number one. That was years later with probably, I think, Heartbreak Hotel. But it was Elvis Presley's first recording. 1962, Algeria officially gained its independence from France, which had declared the African country independent 2 days earlier. Okay. 1971, on this day, the 26th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was certified, granting suffrage to citizens age 18 and older. Well, what if you tried to vote and you were under 21 before then? Would they discount your ballot? I mean, the Constitution doesn't mean anything, does it? Not really, because Trump gets to be on all the ballots in every state, even though the state kicked him off the ballot. The states have no rights to kick him off the ballot, apparently. So back when we had a constitution in 1971, 18-year-olds were given the right to vote. 1975, on this day, Arthur Ashe defeated Jimmy Connors in 4 sets at the 89th Wimbledon Championships. Is that probably noteworthy because Arthur Ashe was black? I don't know. But there you go. Arthur Ashe. 1989, the first episode of Seinfeld aired at NBC, and the sitcom later became a landmark of American popular culture. Seinfeld was started as a summer replacement series. 1996, Dolly was born, the female, let's do this again, Dolly, a female Finn Dorset sheep, was born near Edinburgh, and became the first, I can't pronounce words now, became the first successfully cloned mammal. Her birth was not publicly revealed until the following year. So happy birthday to Dolly the lamb, our first cloned mammal. 2002 American baseball player Ted Williams died in Florida. Ted Williams was the last Major League Baseball player to hit 400. I mean, that means you got to hit 4 out of 10 times he stepped to the plate. That has not been done since 1941 when Ted Williams hit 406. 2009, this is Wimbledon time of the year, so we got some more Wimbledon news. Swiss tennis player Roger Federer won a record-setting 15th Grand Slam singles title as he defeated Andy Roddick at the Wimbledon Championships this day, 15 years ago. Our featured event, 1950, Israel's Law of Return passed. Passed this day in 1950 by the Knesset, the Law of Return granted Jews the freedom to immigrate to Israel and receive immediate citizenship, but it proved controversial when the question of who is a Jew raised other issues. Now, if I just declared myself a Jew, can I just go and say, hey, I've converted? And I go, no, you have to be, and you have to be like this percentage or whatever. And then it's like, oh, you want racial purity? That sounds very Nazi-like. Anyway, so I'm just saying, how do you escape Nazism just to, practice one more form of exclusion, right? Wow. That 2 wrongs don't make a right. Sorry, folks. That's one of the mottos I learned from the Bible, I believe. I'm not sure where that came from. But 2 wrongs, they told me all my whole life, don't make it right. They just make 2 wrongs. And excluding people who aren't Jews is the same as excluding people who are Jews. Anyway, back to my little diatribe there. What if I wanted to convert to be, I'm just saying, my religious freedom here is also strong. Our featured biography, Cecil Rhodes, the Prime Minister of Cape Colony, was born in Bishop's Stratford, England, and died March 22nd, 2002. So he's born, died at the age of 53 in Cape Colony, South Africa. So he ended up in South Africa at the age of 48. Probably a very premature death. Other birthdays today, besides P.T. Barnum and Cecil Rhodes, it is Jean Cocteau. Jean Cocteau, French poet and artist, born this day in 1889. Chuck Close, American artist, born in 1940. And Edie Falco, born in 1963, is turning 61 today. Edie Falco, who played, I think she played Mrs. Soprano, right? In The Sopranos.
No idea. I've never watched that show.
And what day is? It's interesting. A lot of mob hits. And a lot of fuck you, fuck. Bleeping.
All I know is that it ended really dramatically in a pizzeria.
Oh no, it didn't end at all. It didn't end at all, right? At the end, they just kind of faded out. They're all in a restaurant, and I think maybe they didn't want to show a whole family get wiped out by a mob hit, probably. I think they just left it that way. Yeah. National Workaholics Day. National Apple Turnover Day. So turn over an apple. See what's on the other side.
Delicious.
Oh, it's not. Oh, it's a pastry. Sorry. Okay. And it's National Graham Cracker Day. And the crackers that are named after some guy named Graham. And it's National Bikini Day, as the bikini was first launched, named after nuclear annihilation. And it's National Hawaii Day. So it's a good day to have a national bikini if you're in Hawaii. If you got a national bikini and you're eating an apple turnover with graham crackers, and you're doing it all at work, well, I don't know what the hell to say about you. You're a workaholic. That's what you are. Anyway, those are your stories. This is your news, and that's it for the week. On July 5th, 2024, on Apple Turnover Day.
Okay. Well, I'm ready to turn over an apple here from the Netherlands, where the weather is gloomy and sad. But that's okay, because we have the UK. We can celebrate the UK, even if the Netherlands didn't do as great in their election. We will see you next week after the weekend to find out what happened over the weekend and let you know. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you know when we go live, and we're going to cover that mucking fun day news. Here is a mic drop moment.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.